Mike Tyson said, everybody's got a game plan until I punch them in the mouth. The Rangers got a bit of a punch. The offseason game plan altered just a bit. Maybe it wasn't square in the mouth, but we'll talk about it next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. Nathan Eovaldi had sports hernia surgery, as Jeff just broke. We knew it was coming, but Jeff got the story and published it moments ago. And Mike Tyson actually said, everybody's got a game plan. I probably shouldn't make fun of Mike Tyson's voice, should I? He might hear about it.
He might find you.
Yeah, he might find me, John Radigan, Jeff Wilson, the Queen, Kat here, notably pointing out, Real Funky just became a new member of the Supporters Club. Go check out our video about managers of Rangers past. And we might have missed the day that you became a member of the Supporters Club, but we see the badge, and we appreciate each and every one of those members of our Supporters Club. Nathan Eovaldi's sports hernia surgery took place in Arizona recently, Jeff, correct?
Yeah, yesterday in Arizona, which apparently is a hub for sports hernia surgeries.
Yep.
Not sure why it was there, but that's where it was. And Ross Schumaker, the general manager of the Rangers, had talked Friday, kind of giving us an injury update and all these guys, and he said, Nathan Eovaldi rotator cuff might have a sports hernia. He's going to go.
Yeah.
What? Hello.
What?
Yeah. So anyway, I think if there's I'm not a hernia expert. I'm not no internist or whatever they call themselves, but I think if you suspect you have a sports hernia, you probably have a sports hernia, and you got to get it fixed surgically if you're a high-profile athlete,
especially. Yeah,
and really if you're anybody, they're uncomfortable. I remember one of my buddies growing up in elementary school had a hernia.
Really?
Had surgery.
At that young of an age?
It was
wow.
It was just no good. So anyway. The good news is they're not a big deal, get it fixed, rest and recover. And, I think the expectation is, and even Ross said it last week, he'll have a normal offseason.
Yeah.
And that's be ready for spring training.
Yeah. It's 4 to 6 or 6 to 8 weeks. I can't remember, but I do remember one of my golf buddies had one, probably in his early 50s though, but he was limping around for a long time. Right. Yeah. So the point of that is, and obviously Nathan Eovaldi's much younger too, but to have it now in the off season. And wasn't that the same surgery that Seager had late in spring or late in the off season, or was it late in spring training? No, it was like January 28th, wasn't it?
January 30th, I think it was even. Anyway, it was very late in January, only a few weeks before spring training started. He had played throughout the postseason with it, and I think, maybe they thought it would get better. I'm not sure. It did not, and so he had the surgery, and then the other side went out on him late in 2024, and he needed surgery for that one.
Yeah.
So he's had two, but he had it in September,
right?
And had a normal offseason.
That's right.
And
right at the end of the
fine.
Year last year. That's right.
Josh Hamilton is the other one I can think of. In 2011, he played that whole postseason with a sports hernia and was getting shots daily in spots where you don't want to get shots. And he ultimately had to have surgery for that. So they're not uncommon in baseball, and they're not like a terrible deal. It's just you got to rest. And honestly, with his rotator cuff that actually shut him down for this season, this might, I don't want to say be a blessing, but it's going to force him to let the shoulder rest,
right,
and get extra rest on the shoulder, because he doesn't sit around in the offseason. There are guys who don't start throwing off a mound until February, or late January even. A lot of guys will start around Christmas. He usually starts early December, so this will allow the shoulder to get the rest it needs, and then the sports hernia the opportunity, and he'll have to strengthen his core and all that stuff. But you might imagine he already had a strong core to begin with,
no doubt.
So
yeah.
I think come spring training, which will be February. I think I did the math. I think it's like February 10th this year. You can't back 45 days from opening day.
Oh, okay.
So whatever that is, second week of February, you'll sure see Nathan Eovaldi out doing stuff.
Yeah, and Jeff mentioned his strong core. He also had a strong season, as you know, although interrupted by two separate basic shoulder problems. Jeff, shoulder fatigue, right, with the first injury stint that he had, and then rotator cuff. Did they call it a strain or a sprain?
Strain, and he had an MRI. Let's see. Trying to do the backtrack here, do the math. It would have been the last Friday of
August,
September. No. It was the Friday of the last homestand. So at the start of the last homestand, they came home from wherever the heck they were, Houston. There we go. And he had a scan, and everything was fine. Everything was normal.
Oh, okay.
It was the post injury follow-up scan 4 weeks later, and everything was good, and showing that everything was fine, and that it would be just more rest and everything. He'd be good to go. Yeah,
and weren't we thinking at that time he might be a possibility for the postseason if there was a run?
Yeah, but then I think that slowly it would have to been a real deep run,
because he
needed to build up a little bit, even if it was just going to be like Nathan Eovaldi in relief. He would have had to build up some. So anyway, this guy's tough. He does get hurt a lot. I mean, and I think that was you know that going in, just following his track record with the 2 Tommy Johns, and then late in 22 before he came to the Rangers, he had a back issue. Then Kelton coming out, he was an all-star in 23, and then had the shoulder injury in his first start out of the All-Star break, and didn't come back till September, and it didn't look good, and he had to build up, and he was fantastic. So a couple injuries last year, as I recall, a couple this year.
Yeah.
So pencil him in for 25 starts, and hope he gets to 30.
And the reality becomes a look back at his season. If those 2 injuries hadn't happened, he would have won every pitching award. As it is now, he's not a qualifier, but in 22 starts, he was 11-3 with a 1.73 ERA, 129 strikeouts. I mean, it's just fantastic, the numbers that he put up, Jeff. And of course, if you factor them out, he's a 22-game winner, maybe a 20-game. Nobody wins that many games anymore.
No, it's weird. I think Max Fried won 19. I was like, man, that's a big number.
A lot. Yeah, I know.
So it does not happen often. And he was having a great year. There's no doubt about it. It was he was performing better than Jacob deGrom was. And maybe now in hindsight, we know about the shoulder, and now we know about the hernia. And maybe that explains, there was a dip in velocity.
Yeah.
And so it might have been a couple things. Might have been the shoulder, as well as this hernia deal that kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny. He wouldn't have been a qualifier probably even if he hadn't left at the end of the year. Because of that first stint on the injured list, he had barely reached qualification stage, and then a game happened.
And he lost
it. He lost it.
It would have been real close.
It would have been close.
Yeah.
He'd have been doing that the rest of the season, I think, even if he had not been hurt. But I sure hope, qualifier or not, he'd have been in the postseason awards haven't been announced, but he'd have to have been in all of those pitching award discussions. Right?
Yeah, and it's a 5-player. If we want to go on the Cy Young talk, it's a 5-pitcher ballot. Okay,
Yeah,
so you
okay.
figure Skubal,
Yep.
Crochet, and Wu will be 1, 2, 3 in some form or fashion, and then I wouldn't be surprised if Eovaldi got some votes. I know it was
Even
only
now.
20. I know it wasn't a full slate of work, but
yeah.
What he did in those starts was fabulous.
22 starts isn't,
yeah.
I mean, it's not easy.
And maybe DeGrom will get a vote or two because he was top 5 in several categories. I am not honest. Being honest, I'm not familiar enough with the rest of the league and how they all performed. Max Fried obviously is going to get a bunch of votes, but
Crochet's going to get some votes.
I wouldn't be surprised if Eovaldi and DeGrom were somehow among the also-rans.
Yeah, and should be. I mean, they were both great. They were, streak stoppers. They were that pitcher that took the mound that day that made everybody else on the team sort of breathe a sigh of relief and potentially and often play better. I mean, Jacob deGrom got more run support this year than he's ever gotten in his career.
Right.
In part, Jeff, I believe, because the lineup, the guys on offense, did breathe that sigh of relief. Like, wow, okay, cool. We got deGrom going today. And that speaks a little bit to maybe how tight they were squeezing the bat all the rest of the time. And they probably did the same thing for Eovaldi. I can't remember his run support numbers, but, I'm sure they went out to the field feeling good the days he pitched as well.
Yeah, and Kenny points out Hunter Brown from the Astros. That's another.
Oh yeah, good one.
That's another guy. DeGrom's run support was really high early on, and then it kind of trickled away a little bit. But the Mets start, he got some nice run support in that one, and Eovaldi. Yeah, 11-3 and 22 starts. So in there he had 8 no decisions and a 1.73 ERA within the 8 no decisions. So that makes you wonder. He probably didn't get any run support.
Probably not.
If
right.
With a 1.73 ERA you have 8 no decisions. So anyway, good pitcher, leader, does all the things off the field that the Rangers absolutely love. That all teams love. He's the ultimate teammate. Jacob deGrom told me in spring training that Eovaldi, he woke up one morning to a text from Eovaldi. So, early, 6 or 7, Eovaldi telling Jacob to make sure he wished his son a happy birthday.
Wow.
So, Eovaldi remembers not just his teammate's birthday, but his teammates' family's birthdays.
Unbelievable.
Pretty amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty incredible. And he is one of, not many. Let's put it that way. I don't want to say one of one. I don't know everybody, but one of not many who, when he is not able to play because he's injured, you want him around.
Yeah.
He goes and watches the other guys throw their bullpens and then critiques it. He gives guys advice. He helps them. We see, so many times this year, is one of my favorite moments of the season was continually watching Jack Leiter pick his brain and the brain of deGrom. Now, deGrom told us it was mostly Eovaldi who was doing the talking. But either way, I mean, I know deGrom's going to interject in a conversation like that, and there's Jack Leiter just lapping it up. I thought it was one of the real wins of the season.
Well, Eovaldi was, that last month was helping with the scouting report.
Yeah,
I mean, Mike Maddox does a wonderful job with the scouting report. Any pitcher who has ever pitched for Mike Maddox will tell you how good those scouting reports are. But Eovaldi was doing it too, so it was like they had an extra pitching coach, and that's just the guy he is.
Yeah,
he wants to win. He wants his team to win, and he wants the best for his teammates. And if he were an everyday player, you would be hearing about this guy and his leadership and carrying the team and being the guy that picked them all up. He only pitches every 5 days, but his impact is the other 4 days, is felt the other 4 days.
No doubt. So the Rangers will introduce their new manager tomorrow. We'll be there for the press conference. Coming up next, let us talk about managers and the role of the manager in the modern day of Major League Baseball. That's coming next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast.
Hey, you guys, this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app. I tell you what, last night I hit the first two. I had a little three-player lineup, and Aaron Nola, more or less than 3.5 strikeouts. He strikes out 3 in the first 3 innings. He's cruising. They've got a shutout going, thinking, all right, the Phillies are going to ride the hot hand. 4th inning, he's going to strike a guy out. Nope, they take him out, so I lose my lineup there. And the first batter hits a home run against Ranger Suarez. So it backfired on both the Phillies and me, and it hurt. But anyway, Prize Picks. It's so easy. Download the app, prizepicks.com/DLLS will get you $50 off your first $5 lineup. We'll get you $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. You choose more or less than like Aaron Nola strikeouts. And it's so easy to do. So download the app. Okay, do it now. Don't mess around. And when you do that, use the code DLLS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code DLLS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup.
I'll never forget the time we went to the Destin area for the summer. I'd just gotten new shades, and we went immediately to the beach because you can check into those houses like at 4. We went to the beach, and a big wave hit me, and I had my new shades on because I was looking cool. You know, I wanted to look good in the water and everything, and the wave hit me, and whew, there go the shades. But I'm not in, like, super deep water, so I'm like, they're right here somewhere. Undertow took them out to sea. Never saw them again. Brand new. Wore them the day we were driving to Destin, and then never saw them again. If that had happened with Shady Rays, I'd have a new pair immediately. They will replace your sunglasses. So, among many other great things that Shady Rays does. ShadyRays.com, DLLS 35, DLLS 35, and then you get 35% off. All right, so let's talk about managing the manager, if you will. And I was thinking about this based on comments I heard on the postgame show after the ALCS, and Blue Jays, as you know, have clinched ALDS, and now the Blue Jays are headed to the ALCS for the first time since 2016. And at one point, Alex Rodriguez is on there, a former Yankee, and obviously Derek Jeter is on there, a former Yankee. And at one point, A-Rod said something to the effect of, I believe the person who has the least amount of blame in this process, in this loss, in everything happening with the Yankees, the person with the least amount of blame, A-Rod said, is Aaron Boone. Jeter says, and I wrote down the quote, I'm pretty sure that Aaron's not the one making every move throughout the game, right? I mean, I think all of you, too, have probably known the general manager or the president of baseball operations, or both, has a significant impact on daily lineups, batting orders, things like that, which when it first started happening, I can't say I love Jeff either, but it happened, right?
Yeah.
It's a thing. But man, in-game decisions, Aaron Boone's not the one making every move throughout the game. From Derek Jeter, he would know.
Yeah, and they whether that means, I don't think that means that Brian Cashman's calling the dugout and saying, all right, it's time to get so-and-so up. But
right.
I bet they have a
plan.
A plan.
Yeah.
And a catalog, if you will, of moves. If this scenario happens, these are the guys we want. And if it's this matchup, we want his slider against this guy. And that's, you'll hear a manager say, yeah, I made the lineup and take responsibility for it if it's bad or even if it's good. But the fact of the matter is there are a lot of hands on deck in this thing. And, you see Chris Young or Ross Schumaker in the clubhouse a lot, and much more than I ever saw John Daniels in the clubhouse. That's just the way the game has trended. And, and Bruce Bochy said he was open to it. He said the more information, the better. He said, I've always operated that way. going back to his Giants days. But some guys do get a little more grace,
territory. Oh, I
leash,
see. Yeah.
because they have the experience and they've done it before and they're thinking
Right.
about things. But they do have more information now. It's like, hey, this slider is going to be really good against this guy's crappy right-handed swing or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's a, but yeah, the game has evolved that way. And then you have all the data people there, with spots in the clubhouse providing the information, and they're part of the scouting reports too. So it is different, but for them to go out and say that, A-Rod and Jeter, who both have obviously deep ties to the organization, and then Jeter probably as what a part owner of the Marlins at one time.
Yeah.
He probably saw it firsthand too. So that's just the way the game has gone.
And you wonder, did it go back as far as when those two were still playing? Because, we certainly began to see it. I think probably the first time I noticed it was during the Wash era here, where we would just be like, oh, wow, he was honest about everything, and I'm not going to say he liked it. I mean, there were times when I would hear Wash say, something I don't have any control over that, something I can't control, and we knew what that meant. That was code for somebody upstairs is telling me that. And that's the time at which I thought, the first manager I covered, Jeff, was Sparky Anderson. And I don't think Sparky Anderson would have taken too kindly to a GM telling him how to set his lineup and name a million other managers of that era. That just wasn't the thing then.
No, and I think the one who has been shackled with it the hardest is Dave Roberts.
Right.
Like nobody in LA. I mean, and now it's baseball wide. It's like he doesn't make the line.
No, like he's a puppet.
Yeah. And and it's working out fine. But he does make some moves. Like the decision to run that wheel play the other day.
Yeah, how about that?
That comes from the manager.
It does.
I mean, that was pretty good stuff. I am curious though, like why didn't Sasaki start that inning? The other night in Philly in game 2, if Sasaki starts that inning, it's there's no drama. There's no need for the wheel play, right?
That's right.
So are they trying to save usage on him? Well, that comes from up above. Hey, we got potentially a superstar here. We don't want to blow him out. It's like, well, it's all hands on deck, isn't it? But
we're trying to win a game.
Yeah.
We can sweep this thing.
So anyway, they get him for one batter. It's like, that's weird.
Yeah.
He could have just done all that work and caused them. Anyway.
Yeah.
But so it does happen, and and that's fine. And so I'm assuming then that the Cardinals, who are number heavy, did it. I don't know if maybe the Astros now. I don't know about AJ Hinch, although he was all on board with that stuff, the number stuff. So I guess we need to spin it towards Skip Schumaker.
Right, and that's the point. Yeah.
What is Skip Schumaker's role going to be? How involved is the general manager and the president of baseball operation? How involved are they going to be? And so what? The manager still has to be in the dugout. He still has to make in-game decisions. He has to be in the clubhouse. He has to be there for his players. He has to
be there for the media.
Be there for the media twice a day, by the way.
Yeah.
Twice a day, every day.
At least. Yeah.
And hopefully he's not like super hands-on. I think the best managers kind of let their assistants do their own thing. Now, that doesn't mean that Bruce Bochy wasn't sitting in on hitters meetings, because he was.
Yeah.
He would sit in on the meetings and all of that, but he wasn't telling Mike Maddox how to do his job, or the hitting coaches how to do their job. He might have said, hey, this is kind of the direction we want to move in. We got to start doing better here. It's driving me crazy. Fix this, something like that.
Yeah.
But he wasn't in there putting balls on the tee and fixing people's swings. So, it's a different job, and you got to, but you still got to know your players. You got to know, hey, is this guy hurt? Does he need an extra day? Do you see something on the fields like that's not right? He doesn't look good. Maybe let's get him off his feet. He's played a lot here lately. Just things like that. It's still one of 30. There are a lot of people who want one of the 30.
Yeah.
And now that he has one, he's been hired. He's introduced tomorrow, and we're going to find out a lot. We're going to ask about the offense. We're going to ask about the coaching staff. We're going to ask about what he witnessed here this last season. What does he think of the farm system? Because he apparently visited some affiliates.
Yep.
And then, what's his plan? How does he plan on fixing these things? Because as much as everything we just said about how involved everybody in the front office is and analytics and all of that, the manager is still the one who answers, hey, why did you put in so-and-so in the 8th inning? Why is this guy batting 5th?
Yeah,
when he should be batting 9th. So it'll be interesting to pick his brain for the first time.
And the one thing we have never heard, nor do I think we ever will, why is he batting 5th? Well, because the GM told me to bat him 5th. Right? No way.
Right.
No way. Manager has reasons, and just as the GM did, or whoever told him to do it that way. So, but I think it'll be very interesting to have those questions answered by Skip Schumaker tomorrow. And like you say, one of 30. I mean, okay, so let's just say Dave Roberts is nothing but a puppet. I'd be a puppet in that job all day, man, and most of us would. Are you kidding me? What a great job managing that team. And like you say, there's heck of a lot more to it than that. He's making, I mean, one time they counted, I wish I could remember the number, how many decisions a manager makes during the course of a game.
Yeah.
I think it's in the thousands.
It's, all right. Do we want to full count? Do we want to move the runner?
Right.
At first,
Yeah.
Do we want him to move to avoid a double play? And it's like, well, this guy strikes out too much to do that.
Yeah.
Or, this guy makes a lot of contact. I feel pretty good about it. We ought to at least get him in motion, and, the relievers and all that stuff, who's available from day to day. That's another thing. So there is a lot of stuff on a daily basis. This is just before the game you got to figure out, and then how it affects you in game. Like, man, we need to squeeze an extra inning here out of Jack Leiter.
Yeah.
Let's see if he can do it, because we don't have anybody in the bullpen for the 6th. We really need him to get through the 6th and maybe even the 7th. So it's just things like that. And again, they're probably all talked about beforehand.
Yes.
So they have an idea, but it's one guy who gets to execute the plan.
Yeah, and
the manager.
That's one of the things we talked about with Boach yesterday, was how, like, before the game happened, he had plans in his head. And I remember Tim Heyer played, who was the hitting coach until he left to go to Atlanta, but he played for Boach in San Diego. And I remember him telling me, when in Boach's first year, I'm like, what did you like about him as a manager? And he said, about the 3rd inning, one game, he said to me, Timmy, be ready in the 7th. He goes, and I hit. And I was ready. And I got to hit, right? And he was, as a player, a young player at the time, thinking, how did he know that? But that's how Boach's mind works, right?
Right.
And so so that game plan is in his head. Now it's probably formalized, right? A little bit more, where everybody the brain trust can put their heads together and go, well, this could happen, then this could happen, then this could happen, and have a plan for all of it.
Yeah.
Which is probably what Jeter was referring to, right?
You would think so, yeah. I mean, the phone is not ringing. I guess George Steinbrenner famously would do that, but Brian Cashman knows, and he trusts Aaron Boone a lot, and and then sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and it is the manager there kind of taking the heat for it, which I'm sure the front office appreciates, but And maybe that's why some of these guys who go through these tough losses in a spotlight, like Aaron Boone, why they keep getting brought back, because the relationship with the GM is so good.
Yep. It's a very important relationship. And it's obviously one that Skip Schumaker has established and cultivated with, the president of baseball operations and the general manager here. Coming up next, though, let's talk about how the players react to a new manager and previous relationships. What effect did they have on the new manager? Let's talk about all of it next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. We want to tell you to subscribe to our newsletter. And we see the new supporters in the supporters club. Rarities, of course, has the banner there too, the medal. Any one of you could also do that. Jeff's going to talk about that in a minute. But the newsletter is free. Go to the webpage, alldlls.com. Scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you'll see a little box that asks you to subscribe to our newsletter. It's free. And every day, Ali writes things about what's happening in the world of sports, in our world, and, generally all four sports. But depending on the day, today there was a lot about the Stars opening the season tonight. What an exciting opportunity it is for the Stars to see if they can make it to 4 straight Western Conference Finals, and this time beyond. But yeah, it's a long way to go. 82 games left. That's all over the newsletter today. You should be too. It's easy. It's free. Sign up to become a subscriber to the newsletter.
Yes. And then the Supporters Club, which we're really having a good time with. John and I did a video. I know T.O. saw it. We did one yesterday before our show, just kind of talking about some managers, and had a good time with it. And, Kat said, 5 minutes, 8 minutes. Well, we went like 13.
Yeah.
You get John and I talking, and we're not going to stop, and that was free of alcohol too. So
yeah, well, God.
Just wait till we.
If she does one with us when we've been drinking a few,
watch out.
Yeah,
watch out. Might be an hour 13. But anyway, 2 levels, $5 and $15. You get these emojis that you guys are proud of displaying in the chat, and it's just a way to become even a more knowledgeable, in-depth sports fan, and we want you to please join our supporters club.
Yeah, be connected. Be connected. Player relationships are interesting. I think that may be the most interesting portion of the Skip Schumaker hire, which has happened, and of course he'll be introduced tomorrow at the press conference. But I think one of the most interesting things about it is the fact that he comes in such a rare instance, Jeff, of eyes completely wide open. Like, there are no secrets. That he's seen this thing, observed it, studied it, worked with this team for a full year. So he knows this organization. He knows how things run, warts and all. He still had questions to ask about sort of how things would go when he became if he became the manager. But he comes in knowing exactly what failed here and exactly what needs to be done. And I think that's just a rare opportunity for a manager coming into a situation. Beyond that, he's now worked with all of the players in some capacity.
Yeah, and he's seen how the front office operates, and who's volatile and who's level-headed, and so he knows how to work around those relationships or work with those relationships. A big part of a manager's transition is the holdovers from the coaching staff to help make it easier and make sure the players have some familiarity and some cohesion and continuity. That's always a big word, especially like coming up through the minor leagues. The Rangers have done a really good job here the last few years, last several years, of not having a lot of turnover on their minor league staffs. And so these guys know what they're getting into. They work with the guys guys from all different levels at spring training. So when they get to the next level, let's say it's you're in high A and and working with Chad Comer and but you're also sneaking into a AA game in spring training and with Carlos Cardoza. And so when you get your move to AA, Carlos, he knows you. So anyway, Jacob deGrom and Nathan Eovaldi hopefully don't have to get a new pitching coach.
Right.
And the hitters, I can't imagine that they're going to turn over the whole hitting staff.
No.
So there's going to be continuity there. And so that's going to help the manager. He's not going to have to put out any fires there. These guys have a working relationship with the players, and he can take care of that and do what he needs to do, which is get to know the players and watch them and observe them even more closely than he probably already has. And just try to get to know them a little bit better, know their families, know who they are as people. That's important, and that's an important thing here. Players aren't in a vacuum.
Right.
They're not robots.
Nope.
They're all different. They all have different personalities. Kids get sick. Moms and dads get sick. Wives have babies. All these things that happen. It's normal. They're normal people. They just play baseball at an extremely high level. And to understand them and what they might be going through might help solve some problems.
Yeah. And look, that is how a manager or a coach can explore and exercise and perform the other imperative task among his job description, which is an unwritten one. But a coach has to be a tactician. He has to know, the X's and O's and all that kind of thing. But the best ones are really good psychologists. And Jimmy Johnson, I remember when I was cutting my teeth in this market covering the Cowboys, and, he I don't even remember the name of the kid right now that he fired for sleeping, he caught for sleeping in a meeting. And we were like, it was a backup running back. And we were all like, well, what if Emmett fell asleep in a meeting? Not immediately. Jimmy didn't want to hear about that immediately. Later, we asked him, what if Emmett fell asleep in a meeting? Well, I'd probably nudge him gently and say, it's time to wake up, Emmett, right? So there are things you do that send messages and that are sort of a psychological thing. Bill Parcells, I did a radio show for a while with Leroy Glover, and Leroy was walking out to practice one day, and Parcells walks. He says it's early in the season. He doesn't know Parcells that well. Parcells walks up next to him and goes, Glover, you walk like a duck. You don't even look like an athlete. And Glover's like, what? I'll show you. I asked him, how'd you practice that day? Best practice I've ever had, right? And so Parcells kind of knew these things were important, as any good coach, manager does. You've got to tap into, some guys need an arm around them, right? Hey, I hope your mom and dad are doing well today.
Yeah.
Other guys need to be told they walk like a duck, right? What motivates your players? And I think that's the importance now of what Skip is going to try to do and Boach was great at that too, I thought. But Skip's going to try to tap into those aspects, those personalities, those frailties, the strengths of guys' personality and of their character.
Yeah, and he's not that far removed from being a baseball player.
Yep.
And so he understands kind of the modern player. I mean, I'm trying to think, is there anybody in baseball who's 45? No, but I'm guarantee you there are guys he played with who are still active
100.
players. And so he gets it, and that's part of it too. But he's also, for the most part, even though the Rangers have said the roster is going to be younger, he's getting some pretty good veteran guys who don't really need a lot of policing. And if they do have policing, then they do need policing, then that is a problem that goes above him because they signed the wrong guys. They might have been fooled by what they'd heard or whatever, and just the player doesn't turn out to be who they thought he was. But still, he's got to figure out a way to make sure that guy's not rubbing the rest of the team the wrong way, doesn't become a bad apple and all that stuff. But you generally don't hear much about that with the Rangers. They're all family guys and love spending time with their families, and even the young guys are seem fairly straight laced, and you never hear anything. I mean, I can't remember the last time a Rangers player got arrested. I think it was Giovanni Soto.
Wow,
for like having some weed in his car, I think. Jeremy Jeffress. It was Jeremy Jeffress.
Oh yeah.
DUI maybe, or same thing. Anyway,
and he had some substance abuse problems anyway.
But anyway, the point is that you want good guys, obviously, but having a kind of a guy who ruffles some feathers isn't the worst thing in the world. You like to have those guys on your team every once in a while,
Yeah.
But the point is that Skip has to know the guys.
Yep.
And I think because of the time he spent in spring training, and then the occasional times he was in Arlington with the club, I think he's got a pretty good head start on it.
Yeah. Rarity's wondering if managers bring in new trainers and things like that. Not typically, but the trainers are always dying as the decisions are being made. Jose Vasquez, I know Jeff knows him well too, and he's a good friend of mine, and he was the trainer for a long time, and he would tell me, oh, God, new manager, oh, my God, I hope I may. And all of a sudden, he's been here for like 15 years, and I think he left on his own volition, didn't he?
So I believe so. He has 2 kids who are in college or married, and then a son who's in high school. And but yeah, your point's well taken. And even a guy who's been with the organization is a great standing, like Tony Beasley and Mike Maddox.
Yeah,
these contracts expire
end of the month.
Yep. October 31st. That's across baseball. It's standard across baseball, and so you have some uncertainty right now.
Sure.
And these guys are, making phone calls and being like, hey, what's going on?
Just in case.
And it is kind of a courtesy to not make them wait, because they need the chance to get jobs elsewhere. And this is still the only opening that's been filled, which is a little strange. You figure that there would have been a little more urgency. Now you hear about the interviews and stuff that have happened, but maybe there's going to be a flurry of announcements the next time there's not a game. But I just, still, if these guys like Bobby Wilson, at least he was informed early,
right?
So he can go get a job.
And again, you're always as an applicant, which all of these coaches, I guess, technically are. As an applicant, you're always trying to read between the lines. But I would be if I was Tony or Mike or any of the other guys, Rags or any of them. I'd be like, well, they let Bobby know right away. So again, we mentioned it, I think, yesterday or the day before. At this juncture, I think no news is good news for the current crop of assistant coaches, right? And it's just a matter of, Skip's got a lot to do, and I'm sure he wants to give this the proper amount of time and thought and attention before he just rubber stamps a decision on each and every one of the coaches.
Yeah, and some of them might be mulling, if maybe they were offered a different role in the organization.
Sure. Yeah.
Entirely possible, and maybe moving Corey Ragsdale to third base coach and Beasley to first base coach. I don't know. That's
changes like that,
but little changes like that. And then you still have to come to terms with these guys. They're not working for free.
No.
So they need to negotiate out a contract and all of that stuff. But I know Skip's been in contact with some guys on the current staff, and if he's been in contact with a couple, he's probably been in contact with them all. And I'm guessing that this will come together fairly quickly. But again, it may not be till the end of the month, because these contracts don't expire till the end of the month.
Yeah, and the reality is that the guys, the applicants, the coaches probably aren't going to just say, "So am I back or not?" Right? But we will tomorrow, and I think they can. Most of them will probably breathe a sigh of relief when Skip addresses that at the press conference and that type of thing tomorrow. He'll certainly be asked post haste about the rest of the staff. So that's a question that will be at least asked and likely answered tomorrow. And there certainly could be, he would have the opportunity to put it off. Well, we'll let you know, or, but probably he'll give, I would think, these coaches a vote of confidence. So we'll see. That's tomorrow. It's at 10:30. We're going to be there. I think we'll be here at our normal time.
Maybe a little delay.
Possible.
Yeah. Cat's kind of driving this ship.
Cat's got
tomorrow.
this stuff going. But anyway, we'll see how we do. We're planning on being here. Maybe 1:30 at the latest, we hope. Yeah, 1:30 at the latest.
Yeah, maybe we can get some lunch.
Yeah, true.
On the way in.
Yeah.
Stop by a
Hooters?
Waffle House or something. Yeah.
Hooters or the
staff
or the
meeting
Waffle
at
House?
Hooters.
Yeah, we got staff meetings at Hooters. Anyway, so that's tomorrow. TOC, you joined late because of work. I hate when work gets in the
Damn
way.
work.
It's the worst. Yeah. So anyway, let's get to our cleanup segment next as we continue with the DLLS Rangers podcast. And we continue to shower you with money, in a way, because we're saving you money. I suppose Kat would tell me that's kind of girl math, right? Like yes, I spent $36 on a Diehard subscription, or I spent $59. But do you know how much I saved? I saved that much, right? So we're saving you money. Either one of those choices is fantastic, and we've got these new hats that are done by our partners at Branded Bills, and Jeff's. Yep. Oh no, not today. Jeff's got a.
This is a Branded Bills.
Yeah, he's got a Branded Bills on. I think I looked
DLS
over and saw the BB on the side and was thinking he had the DLLS one on. But you see the DLLS one there; it's fantastic, and the shirts are also available at a lower price point. Either way, it's a great deal. You get so much great content that's normally behind the paywall, and it's a no-brainer. Become a diehard by scanning that QR code, or go to alldlls.com/join and join us today. Someone in the chat earlier was saying they just got their brand new diehard card, and that's cool too. They're black and gold was brought up, and that's right. They're a good looking card. So anyway, it's here it is. Oh, Mike, not Maddox 95. Yeah, thank you, Mike, for becoming a diehard somewhat recently, because you just got the card.
That's right. So you get all this merch at store.allcitynetwork.com. If you really want to go crazy, you can get merch from the other cities, but go ahead and start with us before you branch out, unless you're like a Nuggets fan, like I am. They have a sharp-looking Nuggets shirt there at store.allcitynetwork.com, and I might do it. I just
might haul off. Yeah,
we'll see. We'll see how I'm feeling. But you see, I'm not wearing the hat today because it doesn't go with black. I wanted to wear the black shirt today.
Gotcha.
So I've got the black DLS. It's kind of, I think this might be our flagship shirt, maybe.
I think so.
It's kind of like the skyline, and just kind of tells you what we're all about. John with the classic Hello Win column.
Yeah, I figured
one of our
it's a win
newer
today.
Ranger shirts. Yeah, big win today. Yeah. So anyway, store.allcitynetwork.com.
Okay, so hey, last night was the opening night of hockey in Canada. The Toronto Maple Leafs hosted the Montreal Canadiens in a game last night at Scotiabank Arena, which is, as you know, Jeff, right there adjacent to Skydome. I mean,
very close.
Very close. They're walking distance and all that. And back in 15 and 16, when the Rangers were playing the Blue Jays in the playoffs, there's this big gathering space outside Scotiabank Arena with big TV monitors and so forth, and they were showing the game there.
Oh, that's fun.
I guess people at a hockey game in Canada, they just stay outside the arena, even if they can't get in, because that's how big hockey is. But anyway, last night the game ends, and on the big screen in Scotiabank Arena, they told everybody, stay in your seat, and we'll show you the end of the Blue Jays-Yankees game.
Oh, that's fun.
Most of the people who were at that game, a sellout, of course, for opening night,
Right.
most of them stayed in their seats and celebrated the Blue Jays' 5-2 victory over the New York Yankees, and then celebrated, watched some of the post-game celebration and all that. And, of course,
they did that here at the AAC for the World Series.
Did they? With Mavs or Stars? Do you remember?
Mavs.
Okay.
Mark Followell tells it that he watched the Rangers win the
on
World
the big
Series
screen
after Mavs got at the AAC.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, it's really cool sharing.
They're copycats.
Yeah, that's right. But it's really cool. Of course, fans are the same, right, in the same city. Here's a cool part of it, though. The Blue Jays, of course, beat the Yankees 5-2. Maple Leafs beat the Canadiens 5-2.
Oh, man. How about that?
And somebody, Sports Stats or somebody did a little research and found out the last time that the Blue Jays and the Maple Leafs won, the last time the Maple Leafs won the same day the Blue Jays won a postseason game was October 23rd, 1993, the night Joe Carter hit the home run, win the World Series for the Blue Jays.
Well,
how about that? Since 93, they haven't played on the same night during the postseason, but they did last night.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Why isn't it Maple Leaves?
That's a great question.
I mean,
yeah, that's not good grammar, is it?
Maybe grammar's not big up there in Canada.
Maybe they don't care about grammar in Canada.
Yeah. Hey, we got a Natalie. I've seen your questions.
Yeah.
About Wyatt Langford and an extension and Ray Davis. It just makes financial sense to do it sooner than later.
Yep.
And again, it's something that the Rangers are going to visit this offseason. Chris Young told me that. And, club history suggests that they do these things late in spring training and right before the season or right into the start of a new season. And so we'll see how that plays out. But Wyatt said, I don't want to go anywhere else. And Chris Young couldn't possibly imagine him wanting Wyatt to go anywhere else. He's just trying to figure out the years for, what is he, 24 now? Kind of tricky. What's his value going to look like? And,
who's his agent?
I don't know. It's not Boris.
It's not Boris. Okay.
And then I wonder what if any impact a potential strike or lockout might have on something like that. Because if the owners are insistent on a salary cap, how do these contracts play out? These long-term contracts play out? Are they like grandfathered in? He's an exemption.
Right?
Are you going to have a Juan Soto $51 million exemption?
Right.
For the Mets every year.
Shohei Ohtani. Yeah.
So I don't know how any of that crap works or is going to work, but it's definitely something that both sides have thought about, and it would be kooky for the Rangers to not attempt to do it.
Oh yeah, 100%. They really they have to want to, and it's brilliant to do. The Red Sox locked up
Roman
Anthony this year already.
Yeah.
After 12 games or whatever.
Yeah.
But I remember going all the way back to I think it was in his rookie year, but maybe the very beginning of his second year when the Rays locked up Evan Longoria back then.
Mm-hmm.
You try to get these guys at an earlier age so you get them at a more, especially by the end of the contract, it'll be very club favorable.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And Jackson Churio, the Brewers did that a couple springs ago. It's there is risk, the last one that I can remember the Rangers doing was Rougned Odor. It didn't really work out that great. But Derek Holland signed an extension and it had some option years on it and it worked out fine. Ian Kinsler signed 2 extensions with the Rangers. Michael Young signed an extension with the Rangers. That was in spring training before he even got on the beat. Elvis Andrus, second day of the season, I think, in 2013. So there are, there are instances, but again, that work out, and you get the kid more money than he would get in pre-arb. So he gets a little more money in his pocket immediately. You can do signing bonuses. I wonder if the Rangers would get into the business of deferrals. I don't think so, just because I don't think the ownership group wants to carry a ton of debt, because let's say Ray Davis wants to sell the team, wakes up tomorrow and is like, I've had enough of this. I want to sell this team. Well, the less debt you have, the more attractive your club is, because owners don't want, the new owner doesn't want to inherit a ton of payroll or anything like that. And that came up when the Rangers were in bankruptcy court. We were like, we had you got to see all the money that they still owed to players. Like Alex Rodriguez was still owed money,
still getting paid.
And that's just stuff that nobody wants to deal with, and especially the people who were trying to get all of Tom Hicks's money. That's right. The lenders, they didn't want any of that crap. So anyway, there's a lot that goes into it, but the smart thing to do would be locking up Wyatt. And if you want to use Bobby Witt Jr. as a reference, the Royals did his after 2 years, and his first 2 seasons were better than Wyatt's. And then he got like 12 years.
Yeah.
But 12 and 225 or something like that. I don't remember. Yeah. So maybe not that much, but I think Wyatt is going to be very open to securing his financial future.
Yeah, and under any circumstances, he will be very well compensated. Fear not about that. So will the Rangers, Dan asks, pursue any big-name free agents after they cut salary elsewhere? He's mentioning CY's comments, which imply maybe moving some of the World Series guys so they don't have to spend, in real terms, if they do, let's just say it's Semien that they move, the savings aren't going to be that great, right? They're not going to be great enough to get into Kyle Schwarber territory, or probably not even Josh Naylor territory, right? Maybe Naylor.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they're going, they're not going after the biggest of big name free agents this year. I don't see it. They want to steadfastly remain under the CBT this year.
Yeah. And the one thing the Rangers have done well, really, and I've mentioned this going back years, is finding good value in like starting pitching. But like, what's a middle tier starter cost these days?
Right.
You say Kikuchi got $23 million a year from the Angels. He had a nice season. Luis Severino got $23 million a year from the A's and wasn't very good at all. And I think that jacked up the Eovaldi price a little bit. Is Alonso considered a big free agent? I would think so.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. But just kind of, again, looking at the salaries, you figure that for instance, that what's his name? Malley and John Gray. I got a picture of their faces in my head, I guess, nowadays. And then you're getting a bunch of relievers off the books, and then you think Adolis is probably not coming back, and Heim's probably not coming back. So you're talking somewhere between 50 and 60 million to play with. All right, now there will be raises through arbitration, just the typical increases that players get. So maybe you subtract 10 from that. So maybe you're looking at 45 million to play with. What do you need? Well, you need to probably get a starting pitcher. So what's that mid-tier look like? If you want to go to the mid-tier, maybe you take a swing. I mean, they took a swing at Max Fried last year. Maybe you do take a swing at somebody. What would Merrill Kelly cost if you liked Merrill Kelly that much? What would it cost to keep him from going back to Arizona?
Yeah,
I don't know, but when you trade a guy like Semien and you end up eating some of the contract, yes, you're paying him some, but you're still saving money.
You do save money.
So let's say you trade Semien and you're eating half of his contract, which is $26 million. Well, you're adding another $13 million to what you have to play with.
Yeah,
and maybe you trade contract for contract. Maybe. And that's why I keep bringing up the Cardinals. Sonny Gray. Sonny Gray's making a ton of money in 26. Well, all right. Rangers
But we swapped-
send
yep.
off. Hey, let's swap Simeon out for Sonny Gray, and Sonny Gray makes $10 million more, I think, this year than Simeon. Well, there's your starting pitcher hole for $10 million.
Yeah,
if you want to look at it that way.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. So all these things will continue to be talked about here on the off-season editions of the DLLS Rangers podcast. But, of course, tomorrow we'll have an opportunity to meet, talk with, and share with you our interview with the new Rangers manager. Skip Schumaker, officially introduced tomorrow. We'll be there, and we will bring all of what we get from there to you tomorrow at 1-ish here on the DLLS Rangers podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.